We got into our best case scenarios for several teams as it relates to the draft. I want to present a worst case scenario. Louis Riddick, how'd you like to be in the front office in Pittsburgh if this happens? If the Saints take Shedeur Sanders at number 9, someone else goes up and gets Jackson Dart at number 21, and Aaron Rodgers tells you, you know what? Upon further consideration, I've been in a dark room. I went on another one of my plant medicine trips, and I have made the decision. His words, not mine. I watched Enigma. I've decided I'm retiring.
And that's it, huh?
And now you're the Steelers. Now what? I mean, what?
Well, you know what? On the surface, it looks like that's pretty damn bad.
Pretty bad,
right?
Yes.
But there's a name on that graphic that's not there.
What's the name?
You know the name.
You're going to tell me Tyler Shuck, aren't you?
Absolutely right. You know what? And look, I think at this point in time, like in all seriousness, I think for Pittsburgh right now, if you're Omar Khan, if you're Mr. Rooney, if you're Mike Tomlin, you have to be operating right now with the idea being we may need to address quarterback early on, regardless of what Aaron tells us, whether he comes or he doesn't. Because this is not just about next year for them. I mean, look, this is a football team that you can't constantly be pushing things down the road saying, hey, you know what? We got to build the offensive line. We're going to get some more wide receivers. You got to get quarterback right. That's what you've got to do. They're not much different than what the Giants are in terms of, like, ownership has to be looking at them going, hey, look, man, we got to make sure that we have this position sewed up. Because since Ben left, we kind of been like spinning in the wind with this position right here. We got to make sure that we are looking at this thing holistically, meaning both now in the short term with Aaron and in the long run. If we think there's a quarterback there that can be a decades-long guy, look, we already said sitting up here, we've already said that there's been GMs and coaches who have said Tyler Shuck's the best quarterback in the draft.
Yeah.
Who knows what Arthur Smith thinks about him yet? We don't know what Mike Tomlin thinks about him. He was one of their early guys who they brought in for a top 30 visit. We do know that.
Yep.
So that's what I'm saying. That looks like a pretty bad scenario, but I don't think all hope is lost if that happens.
He plays in the conference that you cover for us, the ACC. How good is Tyler Shuck?
He's extremely good. I love his arm strength. I love his ability to throw with different arm angles. I felt like he came into that Louisville offense and really kind of grabbed the bull by the horn, so to speak, because I got a lot of respect for the Brown brothers. They do a great job of developing quarterbacks at the college level, but also as the season went on, this guy could stretch the football down the field. That's what Pittsburgh needs. When you got DK Metcalf and Pickens on the other side, you need somebody that can literally stretch the football down the field. So he will bring that to that offense. Personally, though, you go with a veteran here if you're Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh already has a playoff-ready roster. So I don't believe you necessarily go and get a guy in the first round, Louis, and try to say, okay, we expect you to take us to the playoffs. Call Kirk Cousins if Aaron Rodgers isn't available and get him to come there and be your quarterback, and then maybe take one in the third round if you can.
You got to talk them into it.
No doubt, but I'm just saying it can happen.
Talk to me, Steelers, Rodgers, what?
Yeah, well, Rodgers, they're waiting on. I mean, like, to me, like, I don't know that Aaron Rodgers moves the needle dramatically for the Steelers this year, right? Like in terms of making them a Super Bowl contender based on what we've seen from Aaron Rodgers the last couple of years. So I think he's their best veteran option right now in their eyes. And it would be great for them if he signed because that's their plan A. But in terms of the 21st pick, you know, if you're taking a guy that maybe is a second round pick at 21 in the first round, you're doing it because you know you need to get this fixed for the long term. And in Pittsburgh's case, you don't have a second round pick.
Correct.
You already traded that for DK Metcalf. So they may be the team that has to stretch because of how important it is for them to solve.
I think they need Rodgers desperately to play for them.
Absolutely.
They put themselves in a corner here. That is a veteran roster invested at positions like defensive end with TJ Watt and with guys like Minkah Fitzpatrick and Cam Hayward who are veteran guys, and that wide receiver room, it's not toxic yet. But you can't put a rookie in there, Tyler Shuck, and say, go deal with George Pickens and DK Metcalf and get them up. It's not happening.
It's true.
It's not happening.
It's true.
So you put yourself in this corner when you didn't re-sign Russell or you didn't sign Justin Fields and you said, we're going to wait on Rodgers. Well, the clock is ticking. I don't know what they're waiting for.
I would love for Mr. Rooney to get back in front of the
imagine.
camera again now, like he was at the owners' meetings, where he was nice and cool and collected, and he was just like, hey, we're going to wait a little longer. It's going to be good. I'd like to hear what he
If you're Omar Khan, is Rooney knocking on the door at 6 a.m. every day to be like, we have an answer? Do we have an answer? Every single day?
No, I would be hard pressed to think that he's not. I mean, because this is really, this is just going on and on. And you're right, it's put him in a position where, are they going to really, if Aaron just decided, look, I'm done, I mean, come on now. You're not going to go into the season with just Mason Rudolph. I don't care who's in your wide receiver room.
Let me pause on this for a minute. We have much more coming on it. The Giants are having. They are also holding private workouts with Alabama's Jalen Milroe and Louisville's Tyler Shuck. The Giants are scheduled to pick at 3, at 34, which is the second pick of the second round, and they have 2 third-round picks, number 65 and number 9. So Dan Graziano, the plot thickens. Things get interestinger and interestinger, as we like to say. What does this mean?
Well, what the Giants would tell you is that this was always the plan to do private workouts with the top quarterbacks that they've identified in the draft. They did one with Jackson Dart a few weeks ago. So now these other 3 join Jackson Dart as kind of the group to watch for Giants and quarterback. The question is, where do you take them? Could they take Shedeur Sanders or some quarterback at 3? Theoretically, yes. I don't think you rule anything out 100% at this point. It still feels more likely that what they want to do is take Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter, whichever of the 2 is still there at 3, and then address quarterback later. So what does that mean? Does that mean take one at 34? Does that mean move back up into the first round? You mentioned the extra third-round picks. It gives you a little bit of help in terms of maneuvering. Whenever their opportunity comes to take one, if Shedeur Sanders is there in the late teens, early 20s, and they have a chance to trade up, they want to know. They want to have worked him out. Brian Daboll, their head coach, believes the private workout is a critical part of the evaluation. They're not going to draft a quarterback if they haven't done a private workout with him with Daboll in attendance. So they just want to be as prepared as possible when they get the opportunity to get one of these guys to make sure they have all the information on them.
I'll tell you, I texted with a Giants source over the weekend. It was Saturday. I said, "Are you watching the Masters?" Big golf fan. He said, no, we're in draft meetings all the way straight up until tomorrow evening. So the Giants were working well into the weekend through Sunday night. Joe Shane is going to be speaking with the media at noon today. He has not done so since the league meetings. I think there could be something to be taken from it. I think we might be able to glean something from his press conference. Always interesting when the New York media, who's really plugged into what's going on in that building, can get Shane on the ropes. They might be able to get something from him.
You do not expect him 3 either, right? Graz is saying.
I have never thought Shedeur Sanders would go 3 to the Giants.
Okay, fair enough. So, you shut me down in only the best possible way. Okay, so Shedeur is a fascinating one. Yep. I want to deal in the Jalen Milroe of it all for a minute here, Louis Riddick, because I am not an analyst, I'm not an evaluator, not any of that. What I am is an amalgamator of all the information. Starting in January, I look at every mock draft. I read every scouting report. I watch everything that happens. I didn't see Jalen Milroe's name anywhere near round 1 any place. And then all of a sudden, he's accepting an invitation to attend the draft in Green Bay. For those who don't know, players very seldom do that unless they believe they're going to go in round 1, or if not, then the very beginning of round 2.
Yep.
Lewis, is this a quarterback that we believe is going to go that high and should?
Well, do we believe he's going to and should he are 2 different questions, right?
Okay.
You're going to have 2 different answers with, but because of the subjectivity or the subjective nature of quarterback evaluation. But I think, look, I'll say this in Jalen Milroe's defense, or in support of Jalen Milroe. If you put a rip together of 10 of his best throws from this past year, you would say, look, that's on par with Cam Ward, that's on par with Tyler Shuck, that's on par with Jackson Dart, any of them. As a matter of fact, it may be better than him. And none of them by a mile can touch his athleticism. So the question is this: do you believe that you have the program that will have the level of continuity and consistency to smooth out the performance like fluctuations that you have with him? Which is one game against Georgia, he's making throws and you're going, damn, this kid is spinning it. And then you see him make some boneheaded decisions. Ball gets away from him, accuracy issues, and then all of a sudden, and it's like all over the map. So look, I think that's why you're sitting here going and looking. All it takes is one team to say, hey, look, we've got the program that we think we can smooth that out. And we're going to tap into this kid the same way that people thought, like a team from Baltimore took a guy from Louisville a couple of years ago and said, we'll smooth that out. As a matter of fact, we're going to make him into a multiple-time MVP. Just watch.
I get it.
Maybe a team that's thinking
I agree with that.
Well, clearly, and look, the Lamar Jackson comparison, because of the ridiculous athleticism, I totally get. Lamar Jackson won the Heisman in college. He was a great college player.
I'm not saying it's just a one-to-one comparison.
Right.
I'm just saying, though.
Greeny, 30 teams passed on Lamar Jackson.
No, including the Ravens.
Yeah.
They took Hayden Hurst before they took him in the first round. I totally understand that. But this is not, to me, look, again, I'm not an evaluator, but after the Georgia game, Jalen Milroe, people were saying he could be the first pick in the draft.
Sure.
From that point forward, and that was in September, he threw more interceptions than he did touchdowns as the season went on. EJ, what do you see on the tape?
The other reason, before what I see on the tape,
Yeah.
the other reason why he's not in these conversations for first-round contention is because he didn't have a great showing throughout the draft process. He didn't do great at Mobile at Senior Bowl. He didn't do great at the Combine. He didn't blow anybody away. I would have loved to have seen him run his 40 because what did Anthony Richardson do a few years ago? He wowed everybody with his athleticism. He ran a 4.3. You got to take him in the first round. As far as what I see on the tape, I agree with Lewis. This is a guy you can put him on your team. Don't make him start week 1. I think that's putting him already in a tough situation. But if you put him behind a veteran quarterback, you get him with a smart, young offensive coordinator, a coach that's going to give you some leeway to make some mistakes. This can be a dude that can lead a franchise, no question about it. And also the fact that he's going to the draft tells me that he thinks he's either going in the first or the second round. I really see him going in the second round.
We talked about. I'm sorry, go ahead.
The key thing for people to understand, I think people forget this.
Well, they've been back on their heels a little bit here in this drive, but a chance to exhale just a little bit there with incompletion on first down. Now they have to gear up, try and get 2 more stops, and escape this drive.
From the gun, here's Rudolph. Throws to his man on the out route. It's complete. That's Robinson. And he'll be taken down, but not before he works it past the 50. Give him 10 yards there as this offense is on a roll. This drive continues to plunge forward. So a 1st and 10 now in Denver territory at the 46. Now a play fake, and it's Rudolph. And he can't escape, and down he goes. DJ Jones. Give him the credit for the sack and a loss of 14 yards. So now make that a 2nd sack for them on this drive.
And Brandon, we hear it every week when we go out to do a game. Everyone talks about playing complementary football. Their offense goes down and scores. They see that, and they want to back them up, and that they did, getting 2 sacks on this first drive.
So after the sack, a scenario you certainly don't work on too often. 2nd and 24. Harris running straight ahead. And he will be brought down at about the 43 that time.
Holding offense.
So not a lineman, but the tight end instead this time, drawing the holding call.
And more what you're getting with tight ends are guys who are much more receiver than blocker. They may be willing, but that might not be their thing. Oftentimes, they'll be the one.
And he's going to be brought down here in the backfield. Dropped for a loss of 7 by multiple defenders. And that is the 3rd sack this offensive line has allowed this first quarter.
Yeah, that puts him on pace. Let me do the rudimentary math here. To be sacked 12 times in a game, I know he's not going to go for that. I wonder if it's going to reshape what they decide to do on offense in terms of play calling.
Well, I can tell you what, when he popped up, shaking his head, frustrated right now behind center. Now a 3rd down throw, but it misses the target, incomplete.
Well, how about the coverage we just saw him break out on 3rd down? Dime defense, blanketed the field with extra defensive backs and speed, unable to find an open hole to complete that pass.
On 4th down, here's Presley Harvin on to punt. And Marvin Mims deep for Denver. Taking it about the 36. So a good punt, but a solid 12-yard return. And the Broncos take over, 1st down and 10. So now the 2nd drive offensively coming up for the Denver Broncos. They'll be looking to duplicate that first drive, the one that got them that 7-0 lead.
Of course they would. I mean, look, they're on the road. So getting the 7-0 lead was huge for them, right? Imagine getting up 2 touchdowns on the road, taking the crowd out of the game. It'd be ideal.
Good starting field position for them here as they come up 1st and 10. Just shy of midfield at the 48. They start the drive on the ground. It's Williams. And he's fortunate to get anything from that. Give him a yard up to the 49.
No doubt about it. A really nice job there by the defense, not allowing him to get to the perimeter. But that means your defensive ends, your outside linebackers, the guys that you pay big money to sack the quarterback, they also have to have interest in the running game as well. And they did a nice job there, holding the point of attack and not giving ground.
Now this one complete downfield on the left side. And all the way home for a Broncos score. Cortland Sutton 51 yards. And the Broncos are able to strike quickly to add on to their lead. Well, this has been a flawless start for them. They score, they get the stop, and they score again, Charles.
Complimentary football at its finest. You just mentioned how they got it done. They scored. The defense got the ball back for them. They score again. That's the way you win ball games.
Lutz with the extra point, and it's now 14-0. The long touchdown pass gets them 6 on a very, very tidy 2-play drive that time. After the touchdown, Lutz to kick it off. On the return from his end zone, Godwin Igwebuike. And ultimately cannot get this out to the 25-yard line as he's dropped it to 23. So Pittsburgh retakes the field for their second offensive possession. They've been outplayed early, no question. Down 14-0 already as they come up 1st and 10. Back to throw, Rudolph. Oh, he was hit as he threw it there, and that one winds up incomplete.
And I can see the officials kind of looking at each other down there, silently wondering, does this meet the level of grounding? Fortunately, he did have a receiver in the area, but I have seen less obvious throwaways called as penalties.
Now a 2nd and 10. Now a toss play. It's Harris. And he'll manage only a couple here up to the 25.
Well, that's a good start to this drive on the defensive side of the ball.
Force the incompletion on 1st down. Then you're able to shut down the running play on 2nd.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised now. A little bit of pressure going at the quarterback in the expected passing situation.
They'll be in search of 8 yards here as they hope to convert the 1st down. Throwing on 3rd down, here's Rudolph. Caught out left side by Robinson. And they're going to mark him down short, maybe by about a yard, if that. So the completion good for 6 yards. And that's going to bring up a 4th down.
Well, it looks like they got what they wanted. They got the completion, but they weren't able to break any tackles or gain nearly enough yardage to pick up the 1st down. Now to be 4th and short.
On 4th down, the punt team is on as this is sent away. Fielded at about the 28. They call that a punt of 38 yards officially. And out will come the offense as they take over. Here's the Denver offense now as they get set to take over here. It has been about as perfect of a start to this game as these guys could have asked for, Charles. They've scored on their first 2 drives. They still haven't given anything up on the other side of the ball, so they can already make this a 3-score game here if they can come away with points on this drive.
Yeah, they're almost pushing them to the brink, aren't they, partner? Almost to the point now where it's a loss of words for me, which I know would excite all of our viewers, but you're just not supposed to see that type of dominance so quickly in a game like this. Everything they've done has been working so far. Offense, defense, you name it, it's going well for them. Well, on every play call, you realize it's not going to go for a touchdown, so a lot of your calls are setting things up for maybe later in the game, trying to establish the inside run with toughness now, hopefully get to the perimeter later, and let's face it, you could do worse than a 4-yard run on 1st down.
And he'll be tackled at the 45, following a gain of just 2.
I think that's the type of run we'll continue to see throughout this game. The snow coming down, I don't expect a lot of big plays to be broken.
Here's 3rd and 3. Stidham. Able to find the open man. That's complete. And he will have a Broncos 1st down. They needed 3. He doubled that. He got 6. A pretty sizable deficit here in the 1st quarter. This defense probably need to get off the field in those situations on 3rd down.
You and I both know in this huddle before that last third down play, that's exactly what they talked about. Let's make a play. Let's get off the field. Let's reverse the momentum. Instead, they got hit with another first down, almost back to the drawing board.
And he is going to be